Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boundless Body Radio. I'm your host, Casey Ruff, and today we have another amazing guest to reintroduce to you now. Dr. Kwadwo Kyeremanteng is a returning guest on our show. Be sure to check out his former appearances on episode 471 and episode 585 of Boundless Body Radio. Dr. Kwadwo Kyeremanteng stands at the forefront as the head of critical care, championing a holistic approach to healthcare. With a personal motto that reads a one-stop shop for healthcare solutions, including how to prevent seeing me in the ICU, Dr. Kyeremanteng's dedication to preventing intensive care admissions, shines through. In addition to his commendable work in the medical field, Dr. Kyeremanteng is the esteemed author of Unapologetic Leadership, Finding the Moral Courage to Do the Right Thing. He is also the author of his most recent book, Prevention Over Prescription, Take Control of Your Health Through Nutrition, Movement, and Community, which advocates making strategic lifestyle choices that can minimize the risk of several chronic and common metabolic diseases that can lead to devastating health results. He is also the host of the fantastic Prevention Over Prescription podcast, otherwise known as the Quadcast. Dr. Kwadwo Kyeremanteng, what absolute honor it is to welcome you back to Boundless Body Radio.
Casey, I'm jazzed up again to come on, man. The show is epic. You're incredible. I love your energy. When you put out the request, you know there was only one answer for this bad boy. Of course, we're doing this again.
Dude, I love it. I love it. Well, I love your energy. I love your podcast as well. I'm going a little bit off brand by wearing my Utah Mammoth hat to this conversation today. I'm hoping that I can use up a little bit of your energy in this conversation today because we got some rivalries, my friend.
Yes.
Our last podcast was in February of 2024, which was a month that absolutely changed my life. One of my clients is friends with a lobbyist who said, hey, the Arizona Coyotes are being terribly mismanaged in Arizona. They're going to be purchased by Ryan Smith, who owns the Utah Jazz. They're going to start playing in Salt Lake City in 6 months. We're going to have a practice facility for them. We're going to change our arena. We're going to come up with colors and branding and all of that. And I was like, that's never happened. That will never happen. It's absolutely impossible. And sure enough, we got an NHL team. I've been to so many NHL games. It's been absolutely amazing. And I have a ticket in a few weeks to go see your beloved Edmonton Oilers.
Oh, man. Number one, this might seem out of left field, but that whole approach of there's a problem in Arizona, we're going to fix it, bring it to Utah, and before you know it, we're operational. This is a lens that we need in healthcare right now, just as an aside. That go get them attitude is something we need, especially in my country. But yes, my Oilers, I don't feel like this is going to be their year, but I do like the direction they're going in. I love the move that we did with our goaltender. We'll see how the rest of the season materializes.
Yeah, Connor Ingram, actually, who also plays on your team now, is a beloved person here in the Utah Valley because he was our first goalie here, and he suffered through some mental health issues last year and wasn't able to play half the year. So everybody around here is so happy for him that he landed on his feet in Edmonton, and we wish him all the best, except for when they play the Mammoth, of course. We do not wish them any luck. I had something I wanted to show you. If you're listening and not watching, you're going to miss this out. But here are some pictures of me as a kid with a paper goalie mask.
Nice.
Playing in the driveway. Gotta show you this. Check this out. Dude, this is a colored Grant Fuhr picture.
I was going to say, you know how I knew it was Grant Fuhr? Because he was a southpaw. Like, he's a righty. I think he's the only right-handed goaltender, right glove-handed goaltender we've at least started that I can remember. So that's how I knew you were representing Fiersies. But that's gangster. I love that.
Isn't that cool? Was he the very first African-American, at least goalie in the league in the NHL?
That's a good question. I would assume so, but I don't know that for a fact. But certainly he's like in the Black community. That's the thought. Like, he's a pioneer. And I know there was Fred Brathwaite that was soon after, Malcolm Subban. But there wasn't many, but wow, yeah, he was a pioneer.
I just remember loving him. We here in Salt Lake City at the time we had the IHL affiliate to the Calgary Flames actually, so we would have been rivals, with our pro teams as well in that age. And for whatever reason, the only drawing that's been kept from my childhood is a drawing of Grant Fuhrer. So I had to show you that.
So good.
Also, at the time of this recording, we also have the Olympics going on, and at the time of this Olympics, we've got a hockey women's final, USA Canada. That's going to be a rematch. It's going to be absolutely epic, and it's looking like if there's not any upsets, we're on a collision course for USA Canada in the Olympic final. It does not get any better than that, my friend.
Absolutely. I'll say this. I think we're going one and one. I think the US girls are gonna win. They're too dominant. They're at another level. But our men, I think they're ready to play. I think we're bringing home gold from the men's Olympic gold medal side of things.
I remember seeing the first score notification from the Four Nations tournament that was played last year between the teams, and it was like goal McKinnon, assist Crosby and McDavid, or something like that. It's that is absurd. That's insane. Those names are the biggest names in hockey.
Oh, and then you add the Sir, I can't say his name ever. Celebrini.
Oh, Celebrini. He is 19 years old, and he's insane.
That that line for a while was Celebrini, McKinnon, and McDavid.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. What are you going to do? You can't stop that. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I'm excited for the Olympic finals. I'd love the NHL players get to play. I do hope Canada wins some things. I tell everybody this. I think the Canadian national anthem is one of the absolute best. I think it's better than the Star Spangled Banner. And
Really?
Nobody sings it. I think so. I think it's much more clean, beautiful, easy to sing. Nobody sings it better than your arena. When whoever it is, the dude in the crowd starts out with the first line.
In Edmonton.
Oh,
yeah.
Amazing. And the entire arena is just like everybody sings at the top of their lungs with so much pride. It's amazing. I love watching the anthem in Edmonton.
It's funny. I feel the same way about the U.S. national anthem. It's hard not to get jazzed up after it, and it's just. I mean, you guys do it well, often having the jets and the fireworks, and you feel the emotion. Like when we go to an NFL game, that's one of the highlights actually. And
Okay.
so I feel a similar way about that.
Fair enough. I'm not trying to throw shade on my own national anthem. I just think it's a more outdated song that's harder to sing, and I think Canada is one of the best anthems out there. So either way, it's gonna be amazing. We got some good rivalries to hot stove about sometime.
Totally.
And I definitely want to hang out with you one day, but I don't want to hang out with you while you're at work at the ICU. You write about amazing things, including your latest book, Prevention Over Prescription, trying to keep people away from the ICU. I want to make that the topic of our conversation today, and some of the things that you talk about as far as lifestyle modifications that can help me not visit you in the ICU. But before we do, remind us why you decided to practice medicine, and tell us what you found when you got into the field.
Great question. So the reason I wanted to get into medicine at a high level was to alleviate suffering. I was a pretty sickly kid in Edmonton with bad asthma, and my pediatrician was my hero. The way he would enter a room, put his hand on your chest, put his hand on mom's arm, saying like things were going to be okay. I really appreciate what he would do for us in terms of feeling safe and feeling that we were going to get through whatever condition we were presenting with. And so this is what I wanted to offer to people and to bring to people. And I was very drawn to ICU because it just suited my personality. I don't like predictability too much. I want to be able to work on my toes and think creatively to try and come up with solutions. So ICU really suited my personality. You also work as a team. I love it. And what you would soon realize, especially during the pandemic, is that a lot of our patients, unfortunately, were arriving due to lifestyle choices, and those choices are not easy to overcome always. Like sometimes it's socioeconomics, sometimes it's culture, whatever it might be, but often it was related to lifestyle choices. And when you realize that if you were to to modify those lifestyle choices and to encourage this healthier existence, the landscape of healthcare could be transformative, not only for that individual, but for us as a society. So I just got like when you realized, especially because you weren't learning this in medical school, that you could reverse somebody's type 2 diabetes and get them off their medications altogether. When that message sat with me, and it was just this huge epiphany that like, okay, we got a mission now. Holy cow. Like if we really work on this, we could change how we approach health altogether. And so this has been the big driver. That was a big driver of the book. All our platforms really is to empower folks saying, hey, you could do this. You could get it on a healthier path and we'll help you do it. And we'll make it cleaner, less complicated, because honestly, Casey, I don't think it's as complicated as it can appear to be, especially when you look at your social media feed and so on. So that at a high level is why I do what I do and what drew me to medicine.
Okay. I ask everybody in emergency care this question. At first, I was very astounded by the answer. And since then, it's really striking how consistent the answer has been. So you're in the ICU. It's slightly different, but it's related. What percentage of cases do you see in the ICU are related to metabolic health versus what I would imagine people would be going into the ICU for, which would be more like some type of trauma?
Yeah, good question. So the literature will say around 50% would be related to strictly metabolic syndrome. I'd say around 50% when I've looked this up.
Okay. Wow. That's actually a little lower. The answer that I get most commonly in emergency care is somewhere like between 80 and 90. So that's actually a lot more than I would have assumed. Now,
Yeah,
I also assume there's a lot of comorbidities that go along with some of the acute care, right?
Yeah, yeah. So once again, like I mean, it'll be a little bit site specific or where you live, but for example, one of our sites is a trauma center, so a lot of those patients is nothing to do with metabolic syndrome. Another site is primary cancer. We see cancer patients and people with like lymphoma, leukemia. Often it's not related to metabolic syndrome. So there are conditions for sure that do not tie, but I'm just being as conservative as possible, saying 50%,
Okay.
because if I were to like, I just finished a week of ICU. If I think about it at a high level, walking through right there is for sure was greater than 50%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah, that's so sad. And so pandemic happened. You guys had a much more severe kind of shutdown up in Canada than a lot of places here in the United States. And you've been, banging this drum for a long time. I met you at Low Carb Denver 2023. You've written your books. You've done your podcast. How do you feel like this message is being carried forward? Do you think we're making progress, or is it still much slower than we would like?
I mean, in general, I'm an impatient person, so it's slower than I would want it to be. But is there progress? For sure. I've actually been very encouraged about the progress, because you're getting more and more people seeing the benefits of these lifestyle choice adjusting their lifestyle choices. I've never in my career had more people approach me saying, "Hey, I want to eat healthier. I'm thinking about exercising more, and how can I achieve that?" I just feel like there's some momentum there, and even the latest changes to the food guide in terms of food pyramid, in terms of emphasizing protein, minimizing processed food, that's awesome. Like that step alone is acknowledging that we had work to do, and we that making these steps is important. That to me is clear sign that progress is happening. So this is why I'm so excited to be in the space right now, because we can make a difference, and it will be significantly impactful.
Awesome. I love your optimism and enthusiasm about that. I was going to ask you about the nutritional recommendations. When the day it came out, I saw it on Twitter, X, and it looked so cartoonish. I thought it was like fake. I thought somebody had made it up or something. Like, this is going to be another South Park episode or something. And it turns out it was real. We talk about how the guidelines really impact places where we're feeding people. So, for example, prisons or schools, and in particular hospitals. So, if you look at the picture of the reverse pyramid where it is now, you see a big giant steak on that top left. Like you're saying, dude, that is amazing, amazing, amazing progress. That there's even a picture of butter somewhere on there is like incredible. So I love that. When you read the guidelines, there's still like a cap on saturated fat, and there's a few things that probably didn't change as much as we would want to. What is your opinion about how the new guidelines might trickle down into where you will see it the most in your own hospitals?
That's a good question. I think all this will be slow as molasses. Like, I think it's all this is going to be very slow to adopt, unfortunately. And I also think because of the politics of who and what administration is bringing this on board, there's going to be more antibodies and more resistance to make that change. And I hate this. I hate that because it should be about data and truth, not who delivers it, right? Like that's what it's all about. And I think I think some of this recommendations, unfortunately, are expensive relative to what we're doing in hospitals right now. My hospital has recently made a change to think of food as medicine. So they brought in one of our most esteemed chefs, Stephen Beckta, and he's developed a program where you're getting real food, high in protein, nothing processed, and really looking at ways that we could get our patients in a better state. And to me, this is super exciting. I'm hoping this will be the norm. This is I haven't seen it much in other places and other hospitals, but my faith is that once you start to hear those results, publish those results, normalize it, that it'll just trickle down to being the norm. And honestly, as patients, expressing like this is what we want, this is what we expect, not these, I don't know. Like I'll never forget one of the worst things I've ever seen, walking into a room and I saw this guy that was diabetic that had pureed French toast on his plate and had the syrup and all this stuff. And I'm telling myself we could do better. We can do way better. It's
That's
not only
insane.
is the texture disgusting, but this is not
Yeah,
going to make
it
you
sounds pretty
heal.
gross.
It
I have
was awful.
That sounds pretty gross. I do have to say, anecdotally, in the last few months, and I will say in particular, in the last month or so since the new guidelines have come out, I'm noticing the word protein being advertised a lot more. Now, it's on a lot of crappy processed products. Like I saw protein Pop Tarts. So sorry, Kellogg's. We probably lost them as a potential sponsor of our show. But at the very least, that word is now it seems like it's getting out there a little bit more. I'm seeing less of like fat is a concern, cholesterol is a concern. I am seeing at least the very least protein being advertised on crappy foods and in restaurants. So that I think that's a step.
I've noticed this even before the guidelines. Like I did notice more of an emphasis on it, and this is definitely good. This is definitely an important aspect because, as you can imagine, I'm all about 80-20. Like you're probably the same way about like what is the biggest lever that's going to give you the most impact, and like protein leverage is huge. If you're able to amp up your protein intake, tons of things get better. Your blood sugar regulation, your maintaining or increasing your lean muscle mass, increasing your basal metabolic rate. You're going to burn more calories. You're going to have more energy because you're not having those fluctuations in blood sugar. You're going to crave less junk. You're just going to be a better human as far as I'm concerned if you can optimize your protein. So I love the direction. I do giggle when I do see the protein marketing on crappy foods because often when you look at the protein, like the macros, like the protein to calorie ratio, that could be so bad. But honestly, at least we're going in the right direction overall, and people are recognizing that protein is important.
Yeah, I love that. Taking a little bit of a wider stance, when we look at the title of your book, Take Control of Your Health Through Nutrition, Movement, and Community. Did you put those in order for a reason? Do you think nutrition is the strongest lever of any that we can pull?
I think it is. And I think trying to out exercise a bad diet is very challenging. I think if you could really truly optimize the nutrition side of things, that's going to be your biggest lever for sure. And that's why I think, once again, if you could think about either your protein, if you think about your eating windows, if you think about reducing your processed food, whatever one makes the most sense for you, you're going to see some form of benefit.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I found in my career as well. If you get the protein right, for most people, everybody's a little bit different, but if you get the nutrition piece right, it seems like all the other things will then kind of fall in place a lot easier. I'm with you. If anybody asked me for one recommendation around food, I say get more protein. As much as I would love people to try, low carb or keto or go as far as I go into carnivore, like that's great. But most people are so far below the threshold of the protein that they need in a day. What types of protein are you recommending for most people, and how much protein are you recommending that people get?
Great question. I am agnostic when it comes to protein. Because most people, as you mentioned, Casey, like they're not getting enough. So I don't want to overwhelm them with, hey, it's got to be X, Y, or Z. I just want you to focus on your protein intake in a way that's going to be enjoyable and suitable for your lifestyle. But if you're going to ask me what gives you your best bang for your buck, for sure, animal protein. Like that's my go-to, whether it's chicken, beef, leaner pork, uh, you name it. I'm game. The non-animal based stuff, I feel like it's less bioavailable and it's harder to get to your goals. But if you could hit it by doing it, absolutely. And then the other part is I ingest it often through whey powder or equivalent, and with the protein shakes, we started a company for that reason, so people could get a reliable source. And I wholeheartedly, I don't think it's better than eating real food, but if you can't get real food, like it's a nice option to have when you're on the go. Like even with a protein powder company, I'll probably only have 3 or 4 shakes a week, right? Like as opposed to having a daily or anything like that. But it's just another tool that people could add to try and get their goals. So agnostic, number one would be animal, number two would be plant-based, and then the number three would be getting it through like protein powder, etc.
Got it. Okay, you got to focus on that bird of beef up there, man. I've heard your beef in Alberta is insane.
Oh, you know it. Oh, this is like triple A. Like we're spoiled. Like I know I'm in Ottawa now, but Alberta beef, we have been so graced and fortunate to be able to experience that. But yeah, when you got one of those rib eyes, Alberta rib eyes, we are winning at life.
Amazing. I love it. I forgot you were in Ottawa too, by the way. I thought you were still in Alberta.
Oh no, maybe one day.
Yeah, cool. All right. And then yeah, so you said kind of start where somebody is. I agree with everything you said about recommendations. Like if you're asking me what my preference is, my preference would be animal products. Plant, it's tricky. You can do it. It's just tricky. It's harder. Protein powder is awesome. Um, you said working with somebody where they are and trying to gradually get them to where they want to be. What would be ideal? And knowing that most people are probably like nowhere near
Oh
ideal, but
yes.
if they were going to gradually, slowly try to get to the ideal, what amount are you recommending?
Yeah, so in pounds, I would recommend 0.7 to 1 gram per ideal body weight. So as an example, I'm just above 200. I would aim for anywhere from 140 to 200 grams of protein in a day, which, as you know, Casey, can be very challenging for a lot of people to achieve those goals. But I could guarantee you that if you are getting close to your zero point 0.7 to 1 gram per ideal body weight, there's going to be something that changes. There's going to be, maybe you're not going to get those six-pack abs right away, but you're going to be either putting on lean muscle, you're going to be uh, leaner, you're going to be better blood sugar regulation, you'll be thinking clearer. Like there's going to be some benefit from you approaching life with that, with those metrics, but it's not easy to get to.
Yeah, no, it's not. And especially when you're doing some form of intermittent fasting, which I know you're quite a big fan of, and so am I. Oftentimes I'll do one meal a day. I find that I'm having a tougher time getting up to that amount of protein by eating once or even twice a day. However, when I look at my numbers, my muscle mass always stays the same, even though I'm doing intermittent fasting. So do you believe there's a component of muscle protection that comes from intermittent fasting in particular?
I think there's some magic sauce in there. And you peruse the literature, it's hard to put a finger on it. I know that there's some data to support during your fasting windows, you have slightly higher growth hormone, even testosterone levels during those times. And I gotta say, for a while, I was underdosing protein for sure. And I did lose a little bit of lean muscle when I was first starting intermittent fasting. But now knowing what I know now, I've been able to definitely regain that muscle and maintain it. But I do get, for me in two meals to get to that 140 grams is not too hard. Getting to 200 is definitely like that's work. And if I were trying to put on more lean muscle, I would probably lean closer to that 200. But there's a lot of little tricks that you could do to increase your protein intake, mostly through the shakes. I find like if you're having a shake, up, do you put in 2 scoops? Do you use Greek yogurt? Do you put in some collagen, which will give you a little bit more protein? So like all these little tricks that you could do to try and increase the intake. But yeah, it can be, if you're doing 1 or 2 meals, it can be challenging.
Yeah, got it. Well, again, that's where the shakes can come in and help, and it's awesome that you're providing that. Are there any other supplements that you generally like to recommend for most people?
Yeah, so I mean you're in a sunnier spot than we are, but vitamin D in Canada, especially in the winter months, for the bone health, for the immune system is a must if you're dark skinned. So I take anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 units daily. Then I know it's on everybody's feed, but creatine, I'm a big fan of creatine. So that's another one that I personally take the 5 grams a day at least daily. So it maintains your lean muscle, keeps you strong, helps you recover. But I really love the idea of the cognitive and the mood aspect of things. Now, that being said, a lot of the studies are on higher doses to try and achieve the cognitive and mental health benefits. But either way, it's one of the most well-established, studied supplements that we have, and the side effects are minimal. There's no true risk of kidney damage, as some people are concerned about. So you almost have to, in my mind, have an excuse not to use it. So
Yeah,
that's the one that at
I
least
agree.
all the adults in my house, plus my teenager, are throwing down.
Yeah.
And then other ones that I like magnesium. I don't think it's a must, but I like taking magnesium nightly for sleep and relaxing that nervous system. And those are probably my routine ones. And then some people like omega 3s, which I think is fair if you're not getting enough fish. Um, Collagen I like for your joints, not necessarily for your skin and hair, but at least as you get older, it's shown to reduce symptoms of osteoarthritis. So that's why, as I'm aging, that's going to be in the mix. But yeah, those would probably be my fundamentals.
That's great. Yeah, I was going to ask you about the vitamin D thing. Living so far up north can be a real challenge. So I'm frankly a little bit surprised that 1 to 2,000 IU's is all you're taking. I would have assumed that it would have been more.
I mean, let's be honest, because of the public profile, sometimes I just everything I say is a little bit more on the conservative side. I take 2,000, but a lot of the GPs and recommendations would be like the 1 to 2,000. but yeah, for me personally, I'd take 2000.
Cool. We talked about supplements. We talked about protein. You recently did an episode all about keto with our mutual friend, Dr. Andrew Kutnick. I love that dude. He is just such a pioneer in what he is able to accomplish as a type 1 diabetic. He's just absolutely thriving, super inspiring. And on that note, how do you think about the other macronutrients? Like I said, we talked about protein. That leaves us with fat and carbohydrates. General recommendations. I believe you're pretty diet agnostic. It's not like you subscribe to one particular quote unquote diet or not, but how do you help people think about how they're managing their fats and carbohydrates?
Yeah, I honestly, I think with the protein leverage, it's hard to do everything else poorly. So I do like to give the option of a low carb focus for patients. And I that being said, like I know some people get a little bit anxious about fat content. I I haven't seen something. I'm not convinced that ingesting more fats is necessarily associated with poorer outcomes. I haven't seen anything that's convincing me of that as of right now. So leveraging the protein, leveraging low carb or no carb, and increasing your fat intake. I've just seen too many people benefit. Like I've just seen too many people lose the weight, maintain their muscle. I've seen people, in fact, reduce their symptoms of autoimmune disease from that approach, like the keto approach. So I'd be remiss to say like it can't be like it can't be an effective tool. I feel like it is an effective tool for many patients, but yeah, I just find like almost you could expedite your results by lowering your carbohydrates. So for example, if you were to go high protein and keto, man, like I think you're going to lose weight. If you're looking to lose weight, you're going to see a fairly rapid response. Is it sustainable? Is it easy? That's another question. But you, based on what your goals are, that and your drive, that might be an effective tool for you. But I'm always about sustainable, and I'm always about easy for folks. So um, even when it comes to carbohydrates, one of the approaches that I really like for people, and not that it's cookie cutter, but just one that I find works when I'm talking to folks, is that you every meal the protein is non-negotiable, but the carbohydrates almost think of them having them later in the day, if anything. Like so you say your first meal. Say if you and I, my first meal, or I'll use myself as an example. My first meal, heavy on the protein, vegetables, and that's it, or berries. And then I'll introduce a carb at night for my second meal, because then uh, I don't care if I'm a little bit more lethargic, I'm a little bit more gassed, because I'm going to bed in a few hours. And so that way I've kind of adjusted my macros because I'm not having that much carbs because it's only on one meal. And so I find that could be a very effective way of either maintaining or losing some fat. But once again, you want to work with the person in front of you and see what works for them.
Got it. Okay, perfect. That's very well explained. This is a purely selfish question, my friend. I want to know what you do. So, speaking of Dr. Kutnick, I'm not sure if you've seen. He just released a study not very long ago that talks about carbo loading before performance, and said that we've way overestimated how much carbohydrate somebody needs. It could be as low as 10 grams of carbohydrates every hour that an athlete would need, whether they're carbohydrate fed or fat fed, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. Now, I do carnivore primarily for all kinds of different benefits. My energy is good. My anxiety drops out. I have, I can see all my clients every day. I sleep pretty well. All of that stuff are the reasons why I do carnivore, but I also want to continue skating down 20-year-olds. I'm 42. I still want to be quick on the ice. I want to skate away from you if you're skating after me so you don't body check me up into the 10th row. And so I question sometimes, like, can I use a little bit of carbohydrate to leverage for performance? What do you do? How do you approach that? Do you use carbohydrate for performance? And if so, how and how much?
That's a good question. I've been on the fence about all the. I'm saying I'm still learning, Casey. I gotta say, like when Andrew threw down that fact, like I guess we kind of knew that with some of these keto athletes that you don't necessarily need to carb load, but it's hard to sift through the data to really know, yeah, maybe you don't need it, but is it optimal? And so I find I do very well personally with some carb. Like if I know I'm going into a hockey tournament or I'm really wanting to, like there's going to be a cardio aspect to what I got to do. I for sure like having some carb on board personally. I notice a notice I notice an energy difference. But you know, when I work out in a fasted state, I find I've been able to have PRs on in a fasted state. So that's where I get I'm a bit on the fence personally about certain things. The way I kind of the framework I end up using is if it's going to be cardio heavy, then I'm going to have some carbohydrate involved. If it's just strength, I don't really care as much. But
Mm.
so wholeheartedly, I'm still learning. I'm still trying to
I don't.
navigate this.
No, I don't. I don't buy that at all. You've got some secret protocol you just don't want to share here with me. I knew it. Too much rivalry going on. No, I really appreciate that. That's a very thoughtful answer. And I think about those two things as well. Like, I normally will do everything in the fasted state. I think that's a really good optimal way to do it. And I also question, if I brought some carbohydrates on board, how would that affect things? So I think it's something, like you said, everybody needs to be individual and play along with. So I really appreciate that nuanced answer. We talk about movement. What are the key principles of movement that you write about in your book? Is there a form of movement that you really like? Is there some forms of movement you don't like? How do you think about movement?
Once again, I'm getting people motivated to work on like just to do something. So the main things is resistance training and increasing their step count. To me, is would be the two big levers for people that are struggling to get healthy. I think as I know I'm preaching to the choir. Everybody benefits from pushing weight, from lifting weights, from resistance training, because muscle is currency. It is, as an ICU doc, the lack of muscle, the lack of ability to overcome illness is directly related to muscle mass and frailty. And this is to me why one of the reasons why people should be lifting weights. Second thing is like it's so muscle so metabolically active. You see people that are struggling with their pre-diabetes and diabetes. Watch what your blood sugar will do after you do a leg routine. Your blood sugar regulation is going to be way better. And so all this to say, people get a little bit of antibodies to the idea of going to a gym and putting on muscle. And you don't have to be at a gym. You could get some resistance bands. You could do body weight exercises. There's so much ways around this. And so my big thing is to work with the people in front of you. Figure out, are you already a gym member? What equipment do you have at home if you're not going to a gym? What's the easiest way that we could start getting you motivated to push that weight? And then when it comes to increasing step count, like there's just been so many benefits that we've seen with people walking more. So longevity, better sleep. So my big thing is how do we introduce that more into your life? Park a little bit further than you normally need to. Have a walk after your meals because we know there's going to be benefits from that. Um, Go to the bathroom, a floor or above or below you. Just make it more mainstream for your family and yourselves and get that step count out and you're going to see the benefits. And so those are the two main levers. And the way we do it, whether it's, as I said, whether you're using kettlebells, resistant bands, I don't care, but let's get you pushing that weight.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. If you would have asked me before the pandemic, I might have had a different answer. Dude, we have trained everybody in the weirdest situations. I've trained people for years that I've never met. They live in other countries, on banisters of stairs,
Yeah,
door jams. You can buy those little attachments to stick in a door jam, and you can have your bands at any angle. You can do full body workouts. It's not that hard. People try to make it so complicated. You can do it in the comfort of your own home so easily.
100%. This is the thing. Like that's you probably get a lot of joy out of that, Casey, because you get to be creative in that way, and they just use what is in front of you. Use what you have that is inexpensive, especially because gyms, I don't know about how it is in Utah, but gyms in my city right now are are pretty, yeah, they're very expensive. So take away the barriers. Go get those equipment and bands that we could get on Amazon, and let's get hustling. And
30 bucks.
before you
30
know it,
bucks.
you're gonna feel that much better, and you're gonna be proud of yourself, and the people around you are gonna be like, "Yo, Vicky, do I see like a tricep line right there? That's gangster. What have you been doing? Teach me the ways."
She's got it going on for sure, Vicky. Yeah, that's awesome. I love those recommendations. And I've heard you say this on another podcast, and it's something I tell people all the time. The parking further away thing is so easy to do. I started doing that 15 years ago when step trackers got really popular. And I don't use a step tracker anymore. And I still, out of habit, park at the furthest parking spot and walk in. And how many steps accumulated over 15 years is that now? Of the fresh air, the sunshine, all the other benefits that come along with that. That adds up to a lot of steps. And the other thing I've heard you say on podcasts that I couldn't agree more with is there's way too many people out there that think they have to do every meeting and every Zoom call from a desk with video. You can find times in your day where you can take walking meetings. I've done it in person.
100%.
I've done it virtually. Like there are times when you don't have to be sat in front of your computer. You can be walking around outside and get those benefits.
Oh man, yeah, I love that that stuck with you, because we are still in Zoom culture. We're still in all those Teams meetings, and even as a leader, I run our ICU department. I encourage folks, if you want to get moving, and you're more of a participant. Is that the right word? Participant than chairing the meeting or whatever. As long as you're listening, I don't really care. In fact, I feel better about you moving your body and having that aspect of your wellness for sure. And so I think one of the biggest things that I'm hoping, Casey, that more leaders start promoting that wellness side, start promoting this culture where they're not as restrictive in terms of their hours, just really encouraging people to be active and to live a healthier existence. Because I think a lot of it, when your leader is leading that way, it's contagious.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, your talks with leadership and the other book you wrote all about leadership, carries a lot of those points forward. So I really do appreciate that. And I'm assuming with the strength training for you, there's not a particular like program, number of sets, number of reps. It just needs to be something that challenges somebody. Is that the main principle that you're after?
Yeah, it's a good point. So I've been thinking a lot about this lately. So there's some protocols for strength, there's protocols for increasing lean muscle. I think it just depends on what the goals are and how quickly we want to achieve them. So for some folks, I just want them getting used to using their muscles and creating that routine. So even if they're going at, say, if their max effort is one, if they're going at I don't know, 60% of their max effort, I still think there's benefits. You're still getting that nervous system acclimatized, and then we can always build from that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, yes, you're going to want to think about: am I going to? Is it going to be something? Are we going to focus more on volume? Are we going to be focused more on intensity? I think we could tailor things to the client in front of you, but yeah, I'm at least initially, I'm just happy that they're moving. And then ultimately, as you said, we're going to get to a point where you're going to need to push in some form. And like for my own programs, if I'm on a strength cycle, I'm more thinking about volume. So I'm not always pushing myself to max effort, but I'm getting a lot of reps in, as opposed to trying to increase that. If I'm trying to get bigger, which I haven't tried to do in a while, then really ramming up that intensity. But yeah, it's
Gotcha.
yeah, it's fun though to design programs for folks. So
It is. Yeah, it is fun. And there's lots of different variables and things you can play with. And you always have to ask the question, like, what does my client even like to do? Like, you can mix up some of these
Yes.
things and exercises and all that stuff, but make sure it's always engaging for your client, but keeping those principles in mind. And so, yeah, we've talked about nutrition, we've talked about movement, and there's lots of other lifestyle things we could talk about, and they certainly fit in to all of these things. But on the cover of your book, it wasn't stress that made it wasn't red light therapy that made it wasn't sleep that made it. It was community. Can you tell us why community is so important to you and why that was one of the three main components of your book?
I think it was because it was post-pandemic, and I don't see people connecting as much as they should be. You, you know, like when you watch those Netflix Blue Zone shows, to me, the magic sauce is that community piece. And so we're all on our phones. We talked about the Zooms. I see that younger generation not even hang out with their friends as much. Like I just think that it needed to be said. And during the pandemic, the other component was we saw people literally die from loneliness, like our elderly population. So it was important to me to highlight this, and hopefully this digests in folks the importance. And I do feel like it is it is recognized. We're doing more in-person events, or when you do those in-person events, people are radiating. And I mean, even that low carb one, forget what year it was, maybe 2023 or something like that. Just the energy was nothing like I've felt in a long time. Like people were just happy to be around each other. And I think we need to leverage that. And the nice thing about community is you could stack it. You could stack it with, playing hockey is a good example of that. So yeah, it's a very important piece. Is it the most important? No, but I think it's the one that gets forgotten.
Yeah, no, I love that. And yeah, if you're thinking of the same one, the one that we met at was Low Carb Denver 2023. They're all special. I try to go to two or three conferences a year, and they're all special. And everybody's so high energy and buzzing on ketones, and that's part of it. And you get that energy from other people. But something stands out about that one in particular that was really, really special. Maybe it was the first like major one after the pandemic, and getting everybody back in the same room was super special. But that was a good one.
That
And yeah,
was
it's
awesome.
as you were talking, I'm thinking about my hockey community. Like, there's something so special. I was just thinking about this. Like, I don't even play in a league anymore, but my Monday at noon, I go to a drop in every single week. And it's so funny because it's always going to be this different combination of people and players and strangers. And you're chirping everybody and skating around and like just giving it to people, and it's so much fun. Like, these guys, it's not like I'm texting them all the time or calling them all the time, but you put everybody in a group like that. Hockey's a great example, but there's many others. It's just so fun. It's just elevates everything. And so, if assuming that most listeners out there do not have a hockey team, or don't play, how do you recommend that people start to build more community around them?
Yeah, there's a few things I think. There's people in your life right now that you love and that bring you joy that you're not connecting with right now. So I always say, shoot that text, do that cold call to Leroy and say, "Hey, bud, we haven't talked in a while. How are things?" Guaranteed they would love to hear your voice, and you're going to feel that your cup is more full after you make those connections. So that's like one quick one that you could do. And so actually, I'm going to make that challenge right now. People are listening. Think about that person, that friend that you haven't connected with in the last year or 6 months or whatever, family member, maybe it's a sibling. Just shoot them a text, say, "Hey, just thinking of you, how you been keeping?" And you'll be filling your bucket in theirs. And then you could keep building from there. But if it's more on the activity side, just really think about what activity you love to do that isn't a big lift. Like I hate running, so I would never do a running group, but I love playing pickleball. I love playing volleyball. I love playing all kinds of sports. So for me, it would focus around sports and activity like that. But maybe it's a dance. Maybe it's jujitsu. Maybe it's some form of self-defense. But there's always something you've that has drawn a lot of joy in your life, and you could be connected and fill your cup with people that have that similar affinity. So that to me is the way to do it.
That's a great challenge. I think everybody can be thinking about that. Like groups, if the chances are, if you're enjoying something and love something, there's people around you locally that really love to do that. But I think every listener should walk away from this conversation with the idea to reach out to somebody, shoot that text, make that call. I'm definitely going to do that today. Find a friend that I haven't communicated with in a while and shoot him a text. Oh man, is there anything that we have not gotten to that you'd like to cover in this conversation?
Listen, but like I just want to thank you for the opportunity, Casey. Each time you do such a great interview and you bring up points that I haven't thought about in a while, and the stuff that we do together is really transforming lives. And I just really encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. Listeners, if you're those that are listening that want more in-depth stuff around what we're doing, you could go to drkwadwo.ca or just go to @Quadcast on any social media platform. And we're all about just empowering you guys, because this is what we got to do. We got to take ownership of our health. There's so many barriers for us to try and live that healthy existence, but we can do it. The more conversations like this, the more allies that we bring into the mix, we're going to do this. That healthier existence for us and the next generation. So I just really not anything else that we haven't covered, but just wanted to thank you for being able to throw down, because it means a lot.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for the kind words, and thank you for your energy that you always bring to these conversations. Your content's amazing. Your podcast, you do such a great job and do great interviews and great solo episodes as well. So we're going to have to decide if I'm coming to Ottawa and we're going to catch a game near you. We can meet
Oh, I'm
halfway
coming
and
to
both.
you. I'm
We
coming to
can
you.
both go
I've
to
been dying to
Edmonton,
get to
meet
Utah,
halfway.
like do some skiing. I might even go back to snowboarding, because
There we
I have a
go.
feeling you guys have good snow. But yeah,
Uh,
no, I'm coming to you.
you can come on out. We are known for our snow. Not this year. We have had very little snow, but normally by this time we've gotten a lot. You can come out here and catch a game at Delta Center, which is a steep pit of an arena with a metal roof. It is so loud. We have the only four-horn goal horn in the entire NHL, and when it goes off, it is incredible. The crowd's amazing. Every team that comes in says it's a playoff atmosphere. We might even save you a seat for the 2027 Winter Classic, which is going to be played at the University of Utah football stadium outside
Oh
of
man,
January
that would be
2nd. That's
awesome.
epic. Oh,
That'd
man.
be awesome.
I love your work, man. I'm so glad that I got to meet you in person, that we've been able to keep up and that you've been able to continue to create amazing content. So thank you so very much, Kwadwo, for everything that you do and for taking time to come on our show. One more time, please, where can people go to find you and connect with you and your work?
Thank you again. The easiest way is drkwadwo.ca. So drkwadwo.ca, and everywhere on social media at Quadcast, KWADCAST. And once again, thank you, brother.
Thank you, my friend. This has been a great conversation. And yeah, thank you for your amazing work. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And this has been another episode of Boundless Body Radio.